Hello and welcome. I am Nathan.
I'm Loren.
And this is your August 4Thought. Thanks for taking the time and joining us today. I just returned from my summer trip, my family trip, and I told Loren we have to capture the video today while I'm still
as
nice
tan as possible. Yeah.
As tan as I'm gonna be. This is when I lived in Florida, I look like this more often.
You look like that in February.
I look like this all year round. Except when I lived in Florida, I didn't have all this white hair over my face.
Makes the tan look even better with the white hair.
Yeah, maybe it just pops out. So we had a really good trip. Thanks for asking, Loren.
I did. It was before the video turned on. I was asking how the trip was.
No, we had a good trip, but we were gone for a week and a half. Really nice trip, and saw a lot of friends and family. And we, I think I talked a little bit about this before. We stop in. Me and my son and our dogs travel separate from my wife and daughter. We drive down because they don't want to drive. They don't want to like sit in the drive. I don't mind driving. So we drove down. We stopped in Asheville, North Carolina. We went mountain biking. We went whitewater rafting.
Wow.
So great, super fun, great weather. And then we drove down and they flew down to Florida and met us and had a nice time.
Everybody's happy. That's the way to do it.
Except for we had a little tropical storm in the area. It didn't ruin the time, but it was like rainy off and on for 2 days, which is, we just get
to be expected when you're in Florida.
Totally. And it's the summertime. It rains usually in the afternoon, evening anyway, and we get so fortunate with weather when we go down there most of the time that when we do catch some cloudy weather or rainy weather, you're like, oh man, this is terrible. It's ruining the beach time. What about my tan? My daughter wanted to get, if there's one person that's concerned about getting, I'm not really that concerned, but my daughter is really concerned about getting her tan. So she was upset about that, but everything else was really good. And you have a trip coming up.
I do. Yeah.
Your family trip to.
Yeah. We're going to Hershey, Pennsylvania. So I don't know if it's a big trip like you had, but
sounds like it.
Yeah, a little time to get away. I mean, it blows my mind. I know this is boring to say, but I can't believe it's August. And as you know, my most depressing time of year because, I mean, summer's more than halfway over.
I know. My son was asking me the same thing. How many more weeks do I have left?
Exactly. That's right. And I think, same as I do every year, like, what did I really do this year? What did I accomplish? I know maybe people feel that way at the end of the year, but I always feel this way as we get closer to the end of summer. So yeah, quick trip away. Be my first time in Hershey Park, even though I'm born and raised here in Pennsylvania. So my kids are very excited. Like I always tell you, the biggest difference, which there's lots of differences from when I grew up and they're growing up, is they get to watch YouTube videos on all these YouTube families doing all the Hershey things together.
Previewing
they're all predoing it, so they know exactly what they want to do. So that
and they're going to measure that. They're going to measure their experience up to those things, right?
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Shorter road trip than you had, but driving in the car with a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, never a dream circumstance, but
always fun.
I think we have enough preparation. We're going to be ready to go once we get there.
Well, great. It sounds fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'll be a great time. So we'll get right into it. Market thought, risk, planning thought, forward thought, kind of our 4 segments that we typically get into. And I'll start with the market. So just checking.
But everybody wants to hear about it.
Everyone wants to hear about it. And despite a lot of things that have been worrisome and a lot of headlines and a lot of economic things and
geopolitical things.
Right. Thank you. I couldn't come up with. So the geopolitical things and the events that have occurred, despite those things, market continues to move higher. This is the 6th longest expansion on record.
It's crazy.
Going back to, let's see, our chief investment officer just shared this with over 100 years. So, I mean, this is a long time. This is a long expansion period. So very, very good in that regard, and driven by a lot of productivity gains are really up, and earnings growth, which we mentioned before. Earnings that have been reported have been very strong. So that's very good. And we talk a lot about concentration, or we have in the past, and we talk about the Mag 7, the Magnificent 7.
Yeah, that seems to be changing a little bit.
And those haven't really done as well this year. Throughout the first half of this year, they haven't been the leaders. And so that's something that's changed. It's been different. And we talk a lot about the ways that we're building portfolios and constructing them so they're much more diverse than just owning the index, which would give you a much higher concentration in those names. Now, with those things, what about the risk thought, and what are we seeing in terms of risk, and what do we want to talk about that in terms of risk right now?
Yeah, and maybe this is a one-off before I get into risk, but I was kind of laughing to myself while you're on vacation. And even though you don't appreciate it, I didn't want to send this to you and bother your good times talking about business. But I was kind of laughing because, the inflation numbers had come out while you're on vacation. And we had just talked about how inflation was running hot, and it immediately cooled off.
Cooled off again.
And what I thought was funny about that is that was because of some of the geopolitical stuff we were referencing earlier had kind of cooled off and then immediately got hot again. So we do these once a month. Maybe you think these are too much. Maybe they're not enough because so many things change, and I think that's kind of why we do just the 4 thoughts to keep us focused. But again, I took off a little tangent there. I apologize. I was also watching the news. Do people still watch it? Does that count for watching the news?
Still watch the news. Yeah, you watch the news.
And I do still read.
Not in the same way.
No, I'm not doing it the same way. It's not Peter Jennings anymore.
I know.
Telling me about stuff, even though I miss that guy.
I know.
I saw a very prominent figure in banking, runs a very large banking institution.
Won't say his name.
Yeah. Maybe it's the largest banking institution.
It's a big one.
Yeah. And he kind of mentioned that he is not interested. He doesn't think it's the time. I forget the exact quote. Maybe we'll put it in here if we can find it. He wouldn't be buying any U.S. stocks or any long duration U.S. bonds. And I really thought about that for a long time. And I said, maybe that's the risk that we should be talking about is, one, obviously there's a huge risk when you take advice from someone like that isn't in your specific circumstance. But more importantly, waiting for the perfect time to invest.
I think that's it.
Again, I always say this, so maybe Nathan will finally edit me and stop saying it. But, I started doing this kind of work, let's just say over 20 years ago, over 25. And throughout that time, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with friends, family, clients, prospects that are always asking me, when do you think the perfect time is to invest? And if you know me well...
Do you think this is a good time? That's it. Do you think this is a good time?
Always, yeah. There's some variation of that question.
We get that a lot.
If you know me well enough, sometimes the way I say things can come across as flippant, but I don't mean it to be. And I always say the best time to invest was yesterday or last week or last year. So I think that's the biggest risk. The market's always climbing a wall of worry. There's always something to tell you, whether that's the head of a large banking institution telling you not to invest, or Nathan and I were talking about some other, I hate to use the word talking heads. I don't mean that to sound negative, but some other people prominent in the industry that have mentioned for years and years, hey, here's a concern and there's a concern. And Nathan, was saying to me, there could be a market correction. And if you ask me, there will be a market correction, but that doesn't stop your ability to invest in great businesses that can grow over time. So I think that's the biggest risk I wanted to talk about. I've mentioned, and this ties into planning, which I'll throw back over to you, is
Sure.
We have some clients that have had cash on the sidelines asking us these exact same questions. We're giving them the same advice that we're giving on this video. If the time frame matches up, what happens in the next day or the next week or the next month? Maybe it's unpredictable what is going to happen, but that's not what we're investing for. We would tell you to have those assets in a different manner to protect those against market volatility.
Matched to the specific objective for those assets, right?
So I think I'm seeing some of that. Again, I'll throw it back over to you, Nathan. What are some other things, because this is the planning portion?
Yeah.
What are the other conversations you're having with clients, and what are those about, and how can I interrupt you when you're going over this?
Yeah, sure. So aside from the one that you just brought up, which is always the question that we get asked is, well, is this a good time? Should I be investing? Should I be buying stocks? As you said, the best time to do that is yesterday, meaning, really time is your greatest ally.
It truly is.
And the longer that you have to invest sums of money, the better off you are. Now, if you're obviously needing some of those things, some of those resources over a shorter period of time, it should be invested in a different manner than maybe your long-term assets, because we know, as you just said, corrections come, and they come fairly often. We've had one not so long ago, just earlier this year, at the edge of a 10% correction. We had a bigger one last year. So you can always find those periods of time when they occur. Problem is, a lot of times when the same people that are always asking you, is this the right time to invest, when you do have a 10 or 15 or 20% or more sometimes pull back in the market, those folks definitely they're not the first in line to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, and then
in addition to that,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go. Yeah. So in addition to that, you asked just what else are we hearing from clients, and I'll start and I'll let you finish it. But so we've been hearing a lot. We talked previously about people approaching us about maybe taking sabbaticals. We wrote a little bit about it and talked about it. Also, we've been working with folks who are planning business exits. They're owning businesses. They're going to be selling those businesses, transitioning from those businesses. What other things have you spoken with clients about that you want to talk about on this video?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is driven by how well the market's done over a specific time frame. So we've been talking to people about cash balance plans, some of the business owners that we know, because they're looking to accelerate savings. We've been talking to people about Roth conversions because they're
a lot about that.
Yep, they're worried their accounts, their tax deferred accounts are going to grow to such a large amount when those distributions happen.
And I think people are more aware than ever of that tax time bomb, so to speak, of, hey, I've contributed and saved all these years, but all of those years in a pre-tax method, whether it's a traditional IRA or in 401k, and then yes, eventually that tax bill comes due. And how do I lessen that mandatory distribution? How do I get around or circumvent some of that by doing Roth conversions? Is that right for me, et cetera? So a lot of that has come up in conversations for sure.
Yeah, and we didn't do this on purpose, but when you were talking about building portfolios and using diversification, I know you were thinking about, hey, do I have enough in international? Do I have enough in large cap growth? Do I have enough in small cap? I was thinking, do I have enough in tax deferred versus, Roth accounts? Do I have enough in my HSA? Things like that. So diversification is two different things, right? It's not only the types of investments you have in your accounts, but the types of accounts that you have in your investments.
Yeah, for sure.
Did I say that right?
I think so. Yes, that's correct.
Fair enough.
Account composition.
Account composition
of your account.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I'll do one more, even though I have eaten up most of your segment here.
You're doing a better job anyway. You're doing great.
Also, we've been talking about, it's nice that we have ability to serve multiple types of clients. So we have some younger clients that are still growing their assets, and then we have some older clients that are in kind of distribution mode. And then we have some people that are kind of sandwiched in between the two, where they themselves may be growing their accounts, but they're trying to help their family members that are maybe elderly. And they're asking us, hey, how do I protect my parents' assets? And that can be for what you said, Nathan, distribution of wealth in the future. Or it can be, how do I protect those assets against them paying undue taxes, et cetera. So I think diversification, like we talked about earlier, and then maybe even asset location. Is that maybe maybe too much for this video? But hey, am I keeping my investments that generate taxable income in the right accounts versus my investments that maybe don't generate income that I don't need in an account that's a taxable account. Yeah. So long story short, we're having lots of conversations, and rarely are they about if the market's up or not this year. Maybe I should have just started with that part of the conversation. Would you agree with that, Nathan?
Yeah, I think it's less about, okay, what's my portfolio doing? Is the market this, that, and the other? I mean, obviously those are always aspects of the conversation when we're doing reviews and conversations about your portfolio, and we're sharing results. Results have been good. Great. I think larger, more impactful, meaningful ways that we help the clients would be outside of just, okay, the portfolio's done this. Great. But I have maybe a window of time where I'm going to be retiring before my required minimum distributions and perhaps before even Social Security. Is that a good time to do Roth conversions while we're now? Something like that would probably be a much more impactful conversation and meaningful to them. Or how am I going to gift this money to save, or give money to an organization that I care about, et cetera, estate planning,
excellent
all those
point.
things.
Yep.
And then you wrote a newsletter this month, and you wrote, I thought it was great, and I thought it would be a great kind of forward thought in terms of, a lot of the ways that we do help the people that we work with get to where they want to be is, mentioned in your newsletter, which is, and I'll let you take it, but it's all the principles of, live, I guess, below your means, save, invest, all of those things that that are important. And then you get to a certain point though, where you're like, well, you've accumulated wealth and, hopefully you're working with us and we're helping you. And then maybe there's a time where you're going to use that wealth. You're going to use those resources. And I thought it was great. And I'll let you talk a little bit more about
that. I think I was probably projecting a little bit in this month's newsletter. Maybe I'm doing it in every newsletter. But I thought to myself, through some of the client conversations that I've had, that maybe our focus on optimization and making sure the portfolio is on the efficient frontier and making sure the net worth is growing at the appropriate rate. Maybe we've gotten away from the aspects of planning that I think we both enjoy the best. I'll say I enjoy it the best. Maybe Nathan's different than me. And that is seeing the happiness that can bring to clients' lives. For you, maybe that's buying a brand new car, even though if you buy a used car that's 3-year-old, it makes a better sense on the spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's, hey, I want to get the lowest fare airfare to somebody to go someplace versus, hey, I want to fly first class because that makes me enjoy the experience. Mm-hmm. I get to my destination more refreshed and I can enjoy the vacation that much better. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that we don't know unless we can have deeper conversations with you about those things. So I hope that in our meetings in the future, that can be a part of the conversation. I hope that we can do what we always want to do, cause you to think about what did you save this money for? How can we most effectively use it for you, your family, and then the part that we don't want to forget about, maybe organizations that you care a lot about. Mm-hmm. We all have a future that ends, I'll just put it at that. And wouldn't it be nice to make sure that the people that you care about most get to enjoy some experiences with you while you can still care about those people?
Well said.
So maybe that was a little too much for the end of the forward thought, but we can always cut that and use something else in the future. So thanks again. We really appreciate you, the people that watch our videos every month or even just once in a while and read the newsletters. We always want them to kind of trigger some thought in the back of your mind that makes you want to reach out to us and have a deeper conversation. So we hope we accomplish that goal this month. Thank you very much. We look forward to talking to you again next month.
Thank you.